From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Those around the world and here in Phoenix are mourning the loss of Muhammad Ali. The famous boxer passed away Friday in Scottsdale due to septic shock. He was 74. Cronkite News reporter Lindsay Wisniewski spoke with members of the Parkinson's community about Ali's impact here in the Valley.
Thanks, Joey. Muhammad Ali, champion, civil rights activist, and one of the greatest sports figures to ever step inside the ring. But for many here in Phoenix, his impact was mostly here with Parkinson's disease at the Muhammad Ali Center and at the Barrow Neurological Institute. Today, people from Parkinson's community gathered to remember the three-time heavyweight champion. Ali, who was diagnosed with the disease more than 30 years ago, founded the center with his wife Lonnie back in 1997. His last public appearance was in April at the annual Celebrity Fight Night fundraiser, which raises funds to help others living with Parkinson's. At a media briefing here at the Institute, doctors recalled Ali's visits, as well as how he inspired them in the treatment of the disease.
This strong and powerful man then went and sat down with a group of children, the staff's children, and did magic tricks with them for the afternoon. And that's just the kind of man he was. He was an amazingly powerful man, but at the same time had a really big heart.
The attitude was, well, we'll surmount this. And I think that's the attitude here in the medical center. One of the big things you do is you sell hope.
Residents can place flowers and tributes here in front of the Institute off West Merrill and North 3rd Avenue in Phoenix. Live in Phoenix, I'm Lindsay Wisniewski, Cronkite News.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Perhaps Muhammad Ali's greatest quote about the sport of boxing. Ali inspired many boxing fans across the world. Cronkite News reporter Crandall Brantley found out how boxing clubs in Phoenix took the blow of Ali's death.
It is hard to overestimate the influence of the man often called the greatest fighter of all time. The passing of Ali was a sad moment for many local fighters, including boxers at Central Boxing Gym in downtown Phoenix. Muhammad Ali's death was a crushing blow to the boxing community all across the world, and right here in Central Phoenix. Members of downtown Phoenix's Central Boxing Gym remember the former heavyweight champ as a global icon.
I never met him personally, but when he passed away, it was like I lost somebody, you know, because he impacted the game so much and he impacted so many people that it just felt like a father figure had passed away, you know.
I met him once, you know, he didn't say a whole lot, you know, he kind of dabbed me on the chin. That was enough for me. That was more than enough. It I ball up sometimes, you know, just like when I heard the news, it was like, man, I remember that exact moment, you know.
The manager of Central Boxing Gym, Tom Garcia, says he'll always remember Ali as a humble man who would visit the gym late in his fighting career.
He could turn it off and on, you know, when the media came around, you know, he was his I am the greatest, you know, boisterous self, but alone, he was so humble, quiet.
Tyson and Rivera said they learned a lot from studying film of the former heavyweight champ in the ring.
He moved so fluently, and he did it so easily.
It was just like when any kid playing basketball, you know, tried to mimic Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. It's the same for a boxer, you know, you try to mimic the greatest.
All of the boxers I spoke with agreed that Ali's most memorable moments came outside of the ring.
A great man in the ring, and he was a great man outside the ring where people really looked up to him and respected him as a person and as a man.
The owner of the gym tells me Ali was always willing to sign autographs and talk with the boxers. His picture still hangs on the wall. Crandall Brantley, Cronkite News.
This Friday, the world will celebrate the life of Ali at his memorial service in Louisville. Thousands are expected to attend. Ali's body was flown from Arizona into his hometown of Louisville yesterday. His memorial service on Friday will begin with a motorcade through the streets. Speakers at the service include former President Bill Clinton, comedian Billy Crystal, Turkish President Erdogan Recep Tayyip, and King Abdullah II of Jordan. Cronkite News is sending a team to cover the funeral and learn more about Ali's impact on the nation.
I had the opportunity to sit down and speak with Greg Beck, a former USA Today reporter and sports journalist of 37 years, who has vivid memories of not only working with the champ himself, but of the loyalty he had to the Valley.
left a legacy of loyalty. I think he was loyal not only to his hometown, Louisville, where I'm from, but also to his adopted town, Phoenix, where he was really more like a citizen than a celebrity here. From giving Phoenix the gift of Celebrity Fight Night, lending his name, and they've raised $118 million, almost $120 million for Parkinson's disease, to just being out in the public. I saw him at a couple Suns games, and what was memorable about the Suns game is not only did fans come up to want to meet him, but NBA players stood in line on the court during warm-ups to shake his hand.
What is something that you think the Valley is going to be missing now that he's no longer here?
Oh, just his energy, his passion. Even though he was limited speaking in his final years, his eyes would always light up when he saw somebody, a fan, whatnot. And unlike a lot of athletes today, Michael Jordan, a prime example, who never spoke out about politics or personal beliefs, he brought awareness to everything from Vietnam to religion, the black Muslim faith, to racism. He spoke out. There have been others who have done that through the years, but he was the one that started that and used the platform that I think changed the world forever.
What would you say is probably something that's most memorable about Celebrity Fight Night? And can you also tell us what the atmosphere in that event is like?
That was an amazing time when he would show up. Early on, I went to maybe 6 or 7 of those. Early on, he would actually come into the VIP room where all the stars were. I mean, Billy Crystal showed up, Kevin Costner, I mean, you go down the list. Carrie Underwood was there this year, and it was amazing where the stars were starstruck by the champ.
If you have any memories of Muhammad Ali you'd like to share, we want to hear from you. Our Public Insight Network wants to know the impact Ali had on your life. Go to cronkitenews.azpbs and fill out our form to share your memories of the champ.
If you were in downtown Phoenix this weekend, you probably saw a few superheroes or notorious villains running around. Cronkite News reporter Eddie Keller gives us an inside look at what it takes to make these cosplays.
Has been a staple in the convention scene for years, but what most people don't know is just how much of an investment cosplay can be.
Through the doors, down the escalator, and into a whole new world where you'll be inundated with people dressed as their favorite fantasy characters.
Wade Wilson. W-A-D-E-W space Wilson.
From T-Rex to Sleeping Beauty, at Phoenix Comic-Con, you'll see it all.
It's kind of fun.
These cosplays require massive dedication.
I started it towards the beginning of May, like working at any spare time that I had, putting together everything.
Spending months creating the costumes was not uncommon.
5 months on and off, like if I'm not working, I'm doing this.
Yeah, it is a big investment, and this isn't even nearly as elaborate as most people will do. This is like subpar in comparison to some people you'll see today.
But they didn't just invest their time.
I probably spent about a month's pay on it, which is not insignificant. I made the armor and the hammer and paid somebody to sew the outfit because I can't sew.
More intricate the costume,
Super cheap. I think it ended up being like maybe $20 at the most.
the more it cost.
Probably like around 700.
700. Wow.
Yeah, this alone was 6. And then I had him custom these and the tail, and then I ordered the rest off eBay.
Props alone can cost hundreds of dollars. Adding custom fabrics and the price skyrockets.
Probably about $300.
So why do they do it?
It's really fun. It's like a good way to meet other people. It's also a good way to make new friends.
And it's not just making the cosplay that can be expensive. Factor in travel costs, hotel rates, and even the cost of attendance, and the price can skyrocket. But the people I spoke with had no complaints because they say the experience they had was priceless. Eddie Keller, Cronkite News. Leaders of the Democratic Party say now is the time to unite.
But as voting takes place on today, the last big primary day, Bernie Sanders says he isn't backing down. The biggest state up for grabs today, California, where Cronkite News reporter Alex Capriello is live with the latest.
The California primary is typically an afterthought. However, this year, the candidates crisscrossed the state. Earlier this week, Bernie Sanders was on the Santa Monica Pier just 6 blocks from here, mingling with potential voters. Today, the turnout was steady at the polling location I visited, and there were a large number of Bernie Sanders supporters despite his dwindling chances of wresting the Democratic presidential nomination from Hillary Clinton.
I think that this primary process has brought back like the spirit of what a primary process should be, which is a debate about the topics and the issues. And, you know, I think for a lot of Bernie supporters, it's not so much about the numbers, but about like the ideas, which I think was his goal in the first place.
I really want the agenda of Bernie Sanders to be heard. Even if he is not nominated, I want the volume of people interested in his agenda to be clear and, you know, heard so that it might persuade policy direction.
Still, Democrats appear to want to stick together. Some voters at this polling place in Santa Monica told me they may not love presumptive nominee Hillary Clinton, but see value in giving her their vote.
I don't want to vote for her, but if she gets a nomination, then I'll vote for my party. But it's just, I'm not crazy about her. I don't want to see her win, but I think she will.
I may not be crazy about Hillary Clinton, and there may be some little clicks along the way, but I think she's the best qualified to do the job.
With commitments from the number of delegates needed to become the Democratic Party's presumptive candidate, Hillary Clinton will be the first woman to top the ticket of a major U.S. political party. Of course, Bernie Sanders will hope to gather enough support from super delegates to force a contested convention. From the Cronkite News Bureau in Los Angeles, I'm Alex Capriello.
There's been a lot of talk about how superdelegates play into the Democratic nomination process. Here in Arizona, we have 10 superdelegates. 5 have committed to Hillary Clinton, 2 are supporting Bernie Sanders, and 3 haven't committed to anyone so far. We talked to Luis Heredia, who likes to be called an unpledged delegate rather than a superdelegate. He says his support is more about party unity rather than the nominee.
So debate is healthy, and so I just believe that if we're going to be true Democrats, we're going to be willing to work together to come out to meet all members of our Democratic Party.
In addition to the 10 superdelegates, there are 75 Arizona delegates who were allotted in the presidential preference election. 42 of those delegates went to Hillary Clinton and 33 to Bernie Sanders. It's important to note that California isn't the only state holding a primary tonight. Voters in Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, North Dakota, and South Dakota are casting their ballots today for Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. This is the 5th and last Super Tuesday in the primary season.
The Stephen Hunter Basketball Academy is back in session. Cronkite News reporter Lindsay Wisniewski was there to see how the camp is kicking off its 2nd year.
Former Sun center Stephen Hunter believes in giving back. After spending a season in Phoenix and nearly a decade playing professionally, Hunter returned to the Valley to serve as a community ambassador for the Suns and also to build up his foundation, which holds a Stephen Hunter Basketball Academy each year.
When I grew up, we didn't have a lot of these type of programs that are available today. And, you know, I'm in a position now where I can come back and help kids and use some of my network of people to gather around and help this cause.
For Hunter, the Academy isn't just about basketball. It's about having an impact on youth in the community. The 2-week camps, held throughout the month of June, teach both basketball and life skills, including teamwork and communication.
My favorite part is the kids, you know, just their responses, just, you know, the joy of them being here. You know, their faces light up when, you know, they're around me and they get to talk to me and ask me questions about the NBA and ask me questions about how did I, you know, become where I am today. So just putting a smile on the kids' faces and being a positive role model and mentor to them is the best part about being here.
The Stephen Hunter Basketball Academy reaches out to underserved communities of children ranging from 8 to 14 years of age. At least half the kids attending this year are here on scholarship.
We raised money by just going out and asking businesses, asking individuals if they'd like to donate, and we're really excited that we got so much scholarship money. So there's a lot of kids out there that absolutely would love this camp.
The Academy's goal for next year is to raise enough scholarship money so every kid who wants to attend will be able to afford it. In Phoenix, Lindsay Wisniewski, Cronkite News.
After many problems at the presidential preference election in March, a group of citizens are taking voting rights matters into their own hands. I found out what will be different come November. The presidential preference election in March angered Valley voters, as many waited hours in line at the polls. Voting rights advocate Samantha Pastras said it was nothing short of a disaster.
What happened on March 22nd for the preference election is unfathomable. People were not given the right to vote. If you don't have reasonable access to voting, you're being denied the right to vote.
Maricopa County Recorder Helen Purcell says changes are being made to reduce overcrowding. In the upcoming primary, voters will be required to vote at a polling station close to their homes.
So at the primary, we will have 724 precincts. So as a voter, you must go to the precinct that's in your bound area where you live.
Pastras is now leading a citizens group that will closely watch the election process.
We decided to form a grassroots commission of activists who are dedicated to voting rights to ensure as much as we possibly can that elections are fair and that people have reasonable access.
Both Purcell and Pastras say they are optimistic that after some changes, future voting in the August primary and November general elections will go more smoothly.
Whatever we do, we always take lessons from that in either the next election or the next process that we go through, and we will continue to do that. I don't want to look back. We've got to look forward because we've got a lot of work to do between now and November.
With changes already being put into place, it should be interesting to see how much the voting process improves. Tonight in Glendale, the Copa America soccer tournament continues. Ecuador plays Peru at 7 p.m. The soccer tournament is also in full swing over in Los Angeles. That's where Cronkite News reporter Giselle Concio is, live at our Los Angeles bureau with a look at how many fans are turning out for these games.
More than 50,000 fans packed the Rose Bowl Tuesday night for a Colombia-Paraguay Copa America match. And although that's way under the 90,000 person capacity, it's a good starting point for a sport trying to find its footing in the U.S.
I think it's growing, and I think if it was more advertised, more people would get into it. And maybe if the prices were a little bit lower, it would help a lot of the fans come into the stadium.
Tickets started at $50 for Copa Centenario, but those that came were happy to be here. People of all ages attended the Fan Plaza hours before kickoff to grab some food, play some games, and listen to some music.
We know that American football is popular, but soccer is not. But this event has integrated all of Latin America.
This is the first year Copa America is hosted outside of South America, but it hasn't stopped people from making their way to the States, including right here in Pasadena. The Rose Bowl was home to the 1994 FIFA World Cup final, and some fans believe if Copa 100 is successful, the United States will see more major soccer tournaments in the near future.
The World Cup will repeat, and I think it's going to be on the United States odds to have another great tournament to be held in California, especially. They got great venues, great people, a lot of diversity in the cultures.
Look at this. Look at the fan base here. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's really generated. You've seen it throughout the years. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, yes, absolutely. I think it's definitely going to help the World Cup.
Match here will be tomorrow's Mexico-Jamaica game. But in other news, earlier today, the U.S. soccer president, Sunil Gulati, said that Donald Trump's bid for the presidency could prevent the U.S. from hosting the 2026 World Cup. Live from the Los Angeles bureau, Giselle Cancio, Cronkite News.
Here in Phoenix, we can always remember Ali's name through his center at the Barrow Neurological Institute. Patients at the Muhammad Ali Parkinson Center remember the champ as they fight through their own treatments. Cronkite News reporter Jawei Jha talked to one patient who is inspired by Ali every day.
John O'Donnell has the telltale signs of Parkinson's disease. He's lived with it for 23 years, but he's found some relief from his disease here.
It's the best. I'm lucky that I'm in the best place for Parkinson's.
O'Donnell never met Muhammad Ali, but his presence is here all the time.
He inspired me to work harder. He was the best man I think I've ever known.
Different treatments at the Muhammad Ali Parkinson Center help not only the patients, but also their families.
This means that
life with Parkinson's disease and life caring for someone with Parkinson's disease is significantly better than it would be otherwise.
John and his wife, Karen, said they not only take advantage of the medical care, but also things like exercise, golf, and dance classes. For O'Donnell, the center gives him hope that Parkinson's won't be his last fight.
My future is to be as good as I am today, every other day, until I die of something else. I get hit by a beer truck or something.
In Phoenix, Jia Huijia, Cronkite News.
Fire officials say they're taking it one step at a time in their fight against the Tenderfoot fire. We have live coverage on the fire. It's on the east side of Yarnell. In 2013, the Yarnell Hill Fire was on the west side. The Tenderfoot fire has now burned over 1,200 acres. 250 to 300 residents of the nearby town of Yarnell evacuated last night. Fire officials say ground forces and air support are working to push the fire east away from the town. Cronkite News reporter Eddie Keller is live in Wickenburg, and he talked to residents who left their homes last night.
Hey, we're about 30 miles down the road right now, but I can still see the massive pillar of smoke coming from the fire. We were able to speak to a few people who saw the fire firsthand. One woman described the fire coming down the mountain looking like a sea of lava approaching her. Another said she saw a Verizon store actually go up in flames. We went up the mountain as close as we could, but when we were there, we only saw the beginnings of the pillar of smoke rising in the sky. There was a lineup of cars belonging to residents who had been evacuated from their homes, saying that they were awaiting a police escort to go back and see if it was safe or if there had been any damage done to their property.
We talked to a friend of ours that stayed up here. He did not evacuate. He was on the west side of 89. And he said everything was fine. He did not see any houses burning, so we're hopeful.
Fire officials I spoke with said that these are really the key hours right now that are going to determine whether or not the fire situation gets better or if it gets worse. But we'll keep you updated as the day goes on. Live in Wickenburg, Eddie Keller, Cronkite News.
We just got word that FEMA has declared the Yarnell fire a major disaster, making the state eligible for federal funds to cover firefighting costs. The move comes in response to a request from the State Department of Forestry and Fire Management. With the Tenderfoot fire spreading so rapidly, we can't help but remember the Yarnell Hill nearly 3 years ago that took the lives of 19 Granite Mountain hotshots. We spoke with an author who wrote a book to preserve the stories of those heroes.
I remember the date specifically. It was July 24th, 2013.
New York Times reporter Fernanda Santos was led by the Arizona State Forestry to the site where 19 Granite Mountain hotshots lost their lives fighting the Yarnell Hill fire. It was that spot that brought to life her first book, The Fire Line.
What is it about these men that led them to stay together when they were faced with this wall of flames?
It was this question that prompted Santos to go through intense research, as she says, to meet the men that were no longer here anymore. Meeting with all 19 of the families, Santos heard stories of the love the men had for their families.
There is one chapter where I talk about Danny Parker, the father of Wade Parker, one of the hotshots, going to the area where they died and helping bring the bodies out of the mountain.
Not able to identify his son, Mr. Parker helped carry all 19 bodies.
And he said to me, you know, those boys, they were all Wade to me that day.
As family members shared stories with Santos, stories about camaraderie and brotherhood also became a theme. And when Santos came across a diagram in a report, the bond the men shared couldn't have been more clear.
There is loyalty here. There is trust involved.
Number 5 is Travis Carter, and number 8 is Andrew Ashcraft. Carter was saw boss, and Ashcraft lead saw.
So they worked together, they rode in a truck together, they were close friends.
Through her book, Santos brings life to a time when all we have are the stories to remember it by, coming face to face with the men she wanted to meet, introducing you to them along the way.
These were people like us, you know, they were not superheroes. They were special, but, you know, just really great guys.
In Phoenix, Amber Kawaji, Cronkite News.
Kentucky and the world prepares to say goodbye to the champ. Today, a Muslim prayer service took place at Louisville's Freedom Hall. That's where Ali's last hometown fight was in 1961. We have a team in Louisville. Cronkite News reporter Lindsay Wisniewski attended the service.
Muhammad Ali may have lived in Phoenix for the last decade, but he grew up here in Louisville, and people all across the country are here to say farewell, including 15,000 this morning at Freedom Hall for a janazah, a traditional Islamic funeral service.
We saying goodbye to a legend, a one of a kind. You know, there's never going to be none like him, I don't think, in my lifetime. So, but it's still an honor to say goodbye.
I enjoyed his spunk about what he did, what he has done for the children here and there and everywhere, Africa and United States and all over the world. I thought that was very, very beautiful.
Muhammad Ali, I think, shows how this country truly should have been, and the potential it still has to keep going on forward.
Tomorrow, a morning processional through the streets of Louisville past Ali's boyhood home will be followed by a memorial here at the KFC Yum Center. Guests from Phoenix expected to attend include Jimmy Walker, founder of Celebrity Fight Night, a Valley nonprofit that Ali's been a part of for nearly 20 years. In Louisville, Lindsay Wisniewski, Cronkite News.